Hey, what's going on, everybody? I have a special guest today at Central Connecticut State quarterback, Romelo Williams. What's going on, Romelo?
Doing good. How about yourself?
Doing all right, man. So I'm excited for people that don't know. Romelo's went to high school at Miramar, went to Matter as well. And, Romelo, I want to start with that in 2017, your senior year. And I'm sure you knew this was going to come up, but you guys beat St. Thomas Aquinas. And
Yeah.
I think that I've kind of reached out to, I've done some research on this game, and there's some things I want to get into. And for people that
Mhm.
don't know, you guys were having a good year, 8-1 at that point, but Aquinas certainly down south against local teams is always very tough. That was a team that had current Miami guys, Al Blades Jr., Avery Huff, but just a loaded team. NFL players already: Asante Samuel, Elijah Moore, Nick Benito's coming up, Derek Wingo, Jordan Battle, Jaden Davis. Romelo, what was that experience like? And look, not only you guys win, it's 44-27. As far as I know, that might be the biggest home loss in Aquinas history. What's your memories of that game?
I think for me, that game was kind of special. It was a game that I was looking forward to, especially since growing up, I was close to a lot of them kids like Nick Benito. I grew up with Nick, know him very well. Parents know each other very well. That game was it was exciting to play. It was a game that if you're a competitor, that's a game that you want to play in. They were a top ranked team at the time, and I was looking forward to it.
So one of the things that's interesting about that game, I heard you guys go empty sets, and I felt like that. It sounds almost crazy at the time because again, Aquinas plenty of defense, star power. They could get on your O line quickly, but you guys come out of the gate going empty sets. What was that strategy like? And then kind of watching the highlights, you got to get the ball out quick. But what was that like for you as a quarterback?
I think the game plan going in was to spread them out and use my feet as much as possible. I know that they had going into that game, we knew they had a good secondary, and I think we just wanted to spread them out and make them think a little bit whether I was going to pass or run, just keep them on their toes.
When did you kind of feel like, and kind of just hearing about you, and you're a confident guy, and we'll get into that more a little bit later, but when did you know, like as the game's going on, that hey, we can hang with these guys? And when did you kind of realize that you guys had a shot at least pulling this thing off?
I thought we had a shot before the game even started. We went into that game feeling good about it. Whether they were a high-ranked team, but we were a high-ranked team as well coming into the game. So I don't think that we ever had any doubt in our mind that we were going to lose the game. We know it was going to be a good game, but we never had any doubt in our mind that we were going to lose the game. We went in that game expecting to win.
What was it like? I mentioned a bunch of guys, and a bunch of those guys were on defense. What's that kind of challenge like when you're facing? Essentially, it probably felt like they got guys all over the field, but for a quarterback, kind of trying to pick your spots and find your guys, maybe the challenge of facing a team like that there.
You just gotta know your matchups. Who's on who do you like better? Sometimes watching film, you kind of get a feel about technique and what type of coverage or what route works better against that specific player. But yeah.
Is it something you still go back and think about or talk to your guys about? Is it a game that comes up at times?
It's not something I really talk about too often. That's from 4 years ago. I'm trying to just kind of keep moving forward in my football journey. But I mean, I hear it every now and then. We beat St. Thomas. That was a big thing, but I don't really look back on it and talk about it too often.
So, with your football journey, let's start it from the back at the beginning. There, I'm kind of talking about maybe youth football, the park you came up through, and for people that don't know, also your full name Steve Romelo Williams, and a lot of people knew you as Steve. Kind of at that time, I know your guys close to you call you Rome, but talk about that and kind of Romelo Rome, kind of where your name came from, and like I said, start with your journey of where you came up through the parks here down South Florida.
Okay, well, I started off at West Miramar Panthers. I played there 1 year. I actually started off as a right guard. I had number 50, my very first year playing football. I'll never forget it. And I think what really set the tone for me that year was I remember we were in practice doing hitting drills one time, and I got caught counting who to go against. And I was just trying to pick and choose who to go against. And I remember I laid down to do what's called Oklahoma drills. And when I got up, it was somebody completely different than who what I'm saying, was expecting to go against. And he baptized me like he made me really, really think about if I really want to play football after that hit. That was a big, big, big hit. It was a big kid. I was 5. I think he was 7. Probably had 40 pounds on me, and he hit me pretty good. And after that, it took me a couple of days to really decide if that was really what I wanted to do. So then after that, I went to West Pines. West Pines, Optimist. I don't know if you guys know about West Pines, but back then they were a powerhouse Optimist program. I had played there for, I want to say 3-4 years. And then I went to Pembroke Pines Optimist PPO, another Broward powerhouse. And then I had actually moved to New York for 1 year in the 7th grade and played for Staten Island Hurricanes. So just going out there and playing at different parks and getting to know new people. I played with Pat Surtain, the number 9 pick that he just had an interception this year. So I played with a lot of guys coming up, and I know in that Broward, Miami-Dade area has a lot of talent. So it was just that competitiveness that a lot of people that aren't from Florida don't really know about it. That competitiveness, that drive to be better. Everybody feels the same way. So it's just iron against iron every week down there.
So what was that transition to quarterback? When did you start playing quarterback, moving you off that line of scrimmage there? But when did quarterback kind of be an option for you?
After that first year, I think I started playing quarterback. That second year, my second year playing football. I've been doing it 16 years now, but that second year playing football is when I had made that transition to play quarterback. My Optimist coach recommended it to my dad, and he was like, "Hey, go ahead." And it kind of worked out for me.
So let's stay with your parent. You mentioned your dad there. My understanding, they were kind of at your parents at a lot of your stuff, right? Like seemed like they were big supporters of yours. Yeah. What can you tell me about your parents and kind of their support over the years with your journey?
I think, well, my dad, he's the reason why I really started playing football. He got me into football. I think he's probably my biggest supporter. I think he'd be mad if I didn't say that. My biggest supporter, and my mom is probably tied for my second biggest supporter, well, my sister. But they've always had my back throughout this whole football journey. You know, this football journey has a lot of ups and downs, and they've always been there for me and supported me through it all. So I just want to thank them for that.
And with your dad, you said bigger supporter. Is he someone that you talk to before games, afterwards, even now? Just what's that been like? Just kind of having someone like that. To talk to I assume all the time if he's your bigger supporter.
I talk to my dad before every game, after every game. He's my biggest supporter, but also my biggest critic. His advice is something that I listen to very well. So whatever he has to say, I kind of just listen to and take it in and just kind of grow from what he has to learn, because he's been around a while, so he knows what he's talking about. But he definitely, what he has to say, I definitely take heed to.
Yeah, and you've touched on competitiveness a little bit, and kind of things some stories I've heard. It seems like you kind of have this extra edge, that competitiveness that not all quarterbacks have. Some quarterbacks a little bit more laid back, and I've kind of heard you in practices in high school, kind of you going at it with the defensive players. And for people that don't know, look, not all quarterbacks do that, because look, the defensive players can come right back at you the next play. It's not a position that physicality, you can always go back at them. But where does that kind of come from? And do you have some good stories with maybe some of that? Because I got one I want to share that I heard. So go ahead with your competitiveness.
I'm now that you said, I'm thinking about what story you're about to share, but I think that just comes from that dog-eat-dog mentality growing up in South Florida. Like, South Florida is a dog-eat-dog type of area. And if you don't compete and you don't play well, you're not gonna progress to that next level. So I think that just that drive to want to be better, want to be great and progress, especially in the area I was at, you had to be good to even stand out just a little bit.
And I think, when people that, if they're not from down here, maybe don't understand the competitiveness. But what I always say is, look, it's not just who you go against on the other team. Your own teammates are good. Like, to emerge, even to be a starter, it seems it doesn't matter where you're at or kind of what high school, like, it's just competitive. It's just how it is, even just to get through your own practices and things like that. So the story that stood out to me was just that going into your senior year, you're going at defensive players, and it seemed like, from my understanding, offense would get it one day, do well, defense. And then I heard defense got it one day, and you go to head coach and just say, because he ran the defense, Coach Scott there, shout out to him. But you kind of tell him, hey, coach, we're getting you back. And those weren't really the words that he used, but for you to kind of go at the head coach and the defensive coordinator, he was kind of surprised that,
Yeah.
and he was kind of still learning you at that point in time. And, but what was that like, kind of either with coach or just the defense, and also maybe some of your teammates? Who were you the closest with at Miramar, and then you're at Matter a little bit too, right?
Yeah. So just going back to that year at Miramar, that was my first. I was just coming back to Miramar. We had a new head coach, AJ Scott. He's still there. Yeah, just me and him getting to know each other. I'm a competitor, he's a competitor, and just that friendly trash talk that that gets each other better. I think that he knows it wasn't anything serious, but I just want to be pushed and get better throughout the season. And that's what that competitiveness, that practice needs to have in order to get better as a team. I probably would have to say some of my closest friends while playing football at Miramar my senior year was a guy named Romelo Miller. He doesn't play football anymore. A guy named Romelo Miller, Keetwan Williams. Well, that's pretty much it. I didn't really have too many guys that I was just super, super close with, saying outside of football, but those two guys were somebody I was real cool with in high school.
Was there something, because any athlete at any level, they always remember the times either in the locker room, practice, it's not always just game day stuff that they remember. Is there some memories that you had with either off the field, hanging out with some guys, or practice? Is there some things with the guys you were closest with that really stood out to you, kind of looking back at your time there?
Probably some summer workouts. We had a lot of fun during the summertime in high school, especially the summer workouts. You guys, you spend a lot of time together, two-a-day practices, weight room in the morning. So I don't think I want to share any stories, but I definitely have a couple of stories that I remember very vividly from that summer workout my senior year of high school. It was a very memorable year that year, actually.
Yeah, I'm sure your guys will know what you're talking about. So yeah. That's good if they happen to see this. So, hey, like I said, from the jump of this, I told, I mentioned how you had a successful senior year, not just being in Aquinas. You guys got a 9-2 yourself personally. You lead Broward in passing. You're having a good year. So tell me about this recruiting process. What that was like. It kind of hurt, it seemed like some bigger schools were maybe involved, but didn't pull the trigger on offers. But Central Connecticut State obviously seemed really interested in you. So tell me about the recruiting process. What that was like for you.
I'm sure anybody that tells you the recruiting process was just tough and tricky, especially being like a undersized quarterback. It was a little tough. I didn't start getting offers until the spring going into my senior year. And as a quarterback, that's kind of late. You want to be getting them offers going into your junior year springtime, and I wasn't really getting them. So the recruiting process was tough. I think my very first offer was an NAIA. I'm not too sure what it was called. It was called something Christian. And a coach from there, Brennan Marion, I think he's a receiver coach at Pitt now. He offered me from there. And then he quickly rose up through the ranks and got a offensive coordinator job at Howard, and that was actually my very first FCS D1 offer from Howard. So just keeping in contact with coaches and, like keeping good relationships with coaches. That's why if I had advice to give some of these younger kids, you never know where somebody will be in 2 months. Even the little coaches, the smaller school coaches, you got to just keep in contact, keep communication, because you never know, they might be in a big school in 2 months and they like you enough, they'll offer you there. So my first D1 offer was Howard, and then I went to Albany. I got an offer from Albany. And then I was getting looked at by a couple other schools, but Central was where I ended up at.
What was it about Central? It seems like they were, they kept coming down to see you, it seems like, and I heard, went up there for a visit. What was ultimately about Central, and what was the interest they showed in you, and maybe what do you remember about their recruitment for you?
I think what it really came down to was the comfort level and how much they believed in my talent. I think that anybody going through the recruitment process, I think the biggest thing is going where you were wanted, and that's where I felt wanted at. So I just came here and did what I had to do. I came here, worked hard, that they wanted me, and that you want to feel wanted going through the recruiting process. You don't want to go nowhere. You just a third, fourth option because it's not. 9 times out of 10, it's not going to work out for you. So I went where I was wanted. The coaches were genuine. They were truthful. Even to this day, they still are very truthful. And I just went where I was wanted, and I put my head down and I got to work.
Yeah. Talk to us about where you're at, your location. People that haven't been there, New Britain, there, just what's it like, and what do you think of it? What can you say about the area there and campus?
Small town. It's not too much to do out here. And I think sometimes that's a good thing, but also a bad thing too. Keeps me out of trouble. But weekends when you want to go out and have fun, it's not really too much to do. So it's not really too much to do. But besides it being small, there's good people here. And it just keeps me out of trouble, keeps me focused, and yeah.
So just kind of looking at your career there, essentially, it looks like you've been on the grind. You redshirt that first year, 2019 playing that backup role, and then 2020. I want to talk about that, what that was like for you guys, not playing, and then till now, being the starter, kind of early on, and you stuck it out. What can you say about these first few years at Central before this year?
I think it was all learning experience. My first year coming in, we had a now NFL player, Jake Dolagala. So I had learned a lot from him just from that 1 year we played together. I don't think he really understood how much I watched him in practice and how much I learned from him. And for him to go and take that next step to the NFL, that was big. And even when he comes back to this day, I still listen very attentively to what he has to say. That 2019 year, I redshirted. I think it was my redshirt freshman year. We had a transfer quarterback named Aaron Winchester come in and win the job. I actually learned a lot from him too, just how to be a leader, how to handle certain situations. He had a great year that year. I think he ended up winning NEC Offensive Player of the Year. So being the backup, I think what I learned from him the most was just how to handle winning and losing, just how to be a quarterback. He had a great year, and that's something I want to replicate.
Why was it important for you to stay? And I ask because, look, there's guys that leave. You're not from that area. I mean, there's guys that leave if they're not getting the playing time, regardless of position. Why did you ultimately stay, and why was it important for you to make that move to stay? Or did you even, Romelo, did you even think about leaving, or was it something that, you always wanted to, stick it out there? And
I didn't think that the thought of leaving never crossed my mind. It never crossed my mind. I'm a competitor. I'm here to compete. That's what college football is all about. It's a business. Whoever they bring in the springtime, that's none of your business. You're here to work out and be the best player that you can be. So I don't think I've ever had that thought of, I'm gonna go and leave and go somewhere else. Like, no, I waited my turn. I put my hours in. I worked hard and I got rewarded for it.
So what was last year like for you in the squad there, not playing
during that COVID year?
Yeah.
It was pretty tough. Because going into the year, we thought we were going to play. And then getting close to that season, we were, I think, one of the 2 teams in the NEC that ended up opting out and not playing that spring season. So it's been a while since I played football. So going from high school, my redshirt year, my redshirt freshman year, and then that COVID year, it's been 3 whole years since I've actually been on the football field, actually getting real reps. So it was just kind of tough, but I think as a team we came together, worked hard that fall when we were supposed to play. We did a lot of workout on lifting with our strength and conditioning coach, Coach Erickson. And then we went into the spring, and that winter with a lot of other teams were playing, we were just kind of spring ball, spring winter conditioning, and just trying to get it better and get in more shape for that upcoming fall season that we're in right now.
And any player will tell you if they're out for injury or for whatever reason, that hunger to get back on the field. Yeah. I assume, essentially you had a whole squad of this. I assumed you and your guys were very hungry to get back out on the field. What was that like? And maybe the excitement, like you said, personally, you hadn't played a lot since high school. So what was that hunger, that desire to get back on the field for games like?
The hunger was intense. The hunger was very intense. I think that was, I could say the same for a lot of other guys on the team, especially when every year, like clockwork. You're back playing football. So it was, I want to say it was kind of depressing not playing football for a little bit, but that's just something that you had to adapt to. But I think all the guys on the team were ready to get back to it and get back to work.
So you guys drop that opener, you get back out there, drop the opener, you're down 10-0 in that second game against Wagner on the road, but you guys come back and win. Looked like defense had some stands late, but you guys pulled that one out. What was that win like for you guys? And I always think first wins of the season for a lot of squads are so important, because you don't want to just start hitting holes where you're really fighting to find wins and whatnot. But what was that like for you guys and for you personally, just to get that win, especially the way you guys did it?
I think that win was very important, especially since we dropped the home opener at home. So going into that week of practice, we just stay adamant about doing little things right, because I think that week we had 17 team penalties, and that's unacceptable if you want to win games. So I think going into that second week of Wagner, I think it was just about cutting down on the penalties, being more efficient on third down, and just playing football, executing the right way. And I think as the game progressed, we had a rough first quarter. It was 0-10, and then second half, we picked it up a little bit. I don't think we played to the standard of Central Connecticut Blue Devil football, but we ended up winning the game. And I think as the weeks go by, we're going to keep getting better and better.
And with that, you guys dropped that tough one last week to Southeastern Louisiana. It looks rough there, but just based on the score, you're getting ready to come back down here. The reason why we're talking, obviously, you guys are getting ready to play the Miami Hurricanes. What do you anticipate the practices being like leading up to the game, coming off the game that you guys had? What do you expect practice to be like? And then as yourself as a leader, just what's important to you this week to help these guys?
I think the practice has got to be more intense. I don't think that we're going to approach, I don't think we're going to approach practice any differently if we're playing a conference game or a non-conference game. Every practice has to be the same, whether we're playing the U or Wagner. I think we have to come with that mindset that we're here to get better and that we're here to compete, and we're going to put that product on the field on Saturday.
You expect maybe what are some of the challenges that you think you'll face? And I know you guys will get more into film study and stuff as the game as the week progresses. But what do you think maybe some of the challenges for your team, to get positive results on offense? Just for the whole squad there.
It's got to be in the right spot and execute. They're an FBS team. Everybody knows that. Miami, they got a big brand. They're multiple national championships. So, they're Miami. Everybody knows that. But like I said, I think we're just going into this week like any other week. We just got to execute when we need to execute, be in the correct spot where we need to be at, and have proper technique, and everything will work out for itself.
You looking forward to this? And it's kind of how we started this thing off. You're competitive, the Aquinas thing. You're looking forward to this. And again, for people that are Miramar, fairly close to the stadium there. You looking for, friends and family. I assume you'll have some people there. You looking forward to this challenge, or maybe, just how do you approach this one personally here?
To be honest, I'm not really. It's not really any different. I'm excited for it. It's something that, growing up, I've been a ton of Hurricane games, Miami games at Hard Rock Stadium. So just that dream of playing in Hard Rock Stadium is coming true. But I don't think that I'm going to approach this game any differently or feel any different way about it. I'm excited for sure. Who doesn't want to play in Miami? That's a great team, and that's a big game. But I'm a competitor at the end of the day. I want to win. And I think, we just got to put our best foot forward, and everything will work out for itself.
You think you'll have some people there supporting you there, and either former teammates and, like I said, family members?
Yeah, I have a big support system, so I know I have a good amount of people there supporting me and rooting me on, and I'm thankful for that. They've helped me through a lot.
That's good, man. Yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure. Like I said before we started the recording, I appreciate your time. Yeah. I think it was great kind of going through your journey, and great to hear it. I definitely enjoyed the talk, and best of luck, obviously the rest of the season. But man, I just appreciate your time, Romelo. It was fun talking to you. I'll let you get going though.
Appreciate you for having me on. It was a great opportunity.
All right, take care, man.
You as well. Bye.